Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Patricia Monna Intuitive Consulting. This is the month of November that we are checking the pulse and the energy for. I do remote viewing and psychic tune-ins for the month ahead, and Susan Reynolds does the astrology and is an amazing astrologer. And we come together and we compare notes on the month ahead. And but first, before we get started on November's predictions and what's going on in November, let's talk about October because I remember when we first started talking about October at the very end of September, um, I could feel the energy mounting into October, and it felt a lot more severe or chaotic even than September did. And I gotta say, now that we're at the end of October, I don't know one person that came out unscathed from this month. There was just so much happening in the air on a global level and on a personal level. So, how was your month, Susan?
Chaotic. I will say, like everybody else, I put it that October has pushed me to the ground, stolen my lunch money, and kicked sand in my face. October has been a challenging month for everybody. And that is because October is eclipse season. We have had two eclipses in October, one mid month and one end month. On October 28th, just a couple of days ago, a few days ago, we had the second eclipse, which was a full moon lunar eclipse in Taurus. And that's a big deal because right now we have so much Scorpio energy. So you have this Taurus moon just trying to beat the crap out of all these Scorpio planets. And it's like we are all put in the boxing ring and it's put up your dukes. But sometimes we don't even know we're supposed to put up our dukes, and boom, our opponent just smacks us to the ground. And we're looking up like, what the heck? What just happened? So, yeah, October has been chaotic and unsettling. I always refer to eclipses as astrological wormholes because they take us from one reality to a new reality in the blink of an eye. And
Mhm.
when you think about all that has been going on internationally, our world has changed very dramatically in just a month. So, going into November, in some ways, I do think November is going to be a little easier than October, but that bar is set pretty low. So I don't know that easier means easy,
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
but it is going to be, I think, an exciting month. And there are some good things going on here, some challenging things, but I don't think November is going to maybe push us around the way October did.
Good. Good, good. Yeah, I actually picked up that it'll still feel chaotic at the beginning of the month of November, but around the middle of November, like I don't know, the week of about the 11th, and moving into the 15th, 16th, in around that time, we should start to feel it taper off. And I don't know what you're picking up, but like I said, everybody, we don't discuss anything before we click record. Was there anything in there that's saying it's going to get lighter towards the middle of November?
Yes, there is. So the stars happen to agree with you.
Okay, good.
Right now, we have Scorpio energies everywhere. The sun is in Scorpio, Mars is in Scorpio, Mercury is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is a water planet and it is deep, dark, mysterious. Scorpio is intense. It is what is not seen, it is what's behind the curtain. Let's lift up that rock and take a look. So, if you know Scorpio, you know that they do not wear their heart on their sleeve. Scorpio is very reserved, very private. They may say, okay, yes, that's fine. All right. Then they may go home and cry their eyes out, but you're never going to see them sweat. And so all that intensity is sort of under the surface. So as we begin the month of November, there's intensity. Now, of course, all of us are going to notice this in our personal life, in our emotional life. We may start to see push down emotions come to the surface. We may be talking to somebody or watching something that triggers us in some way. We may start to decide to talk to a therapist or a counselor because Scorpio just keeps digging emotionally. But we're also going to see this play out nationally and internationally. in every country in the world. You know, I'm going to say right now, I've been watching the news like everybody else in the world, and we're looking at this Israeli conflict, Hamas and Israel. Israel is a Taurus nation. And right now, we all have Jupiter in Taurus. And Jupiter is the planet of largesse. You know, wherever Jupiter is, it wants bigger, more, better. And sometimes that's great. If you've got Jupiter in an area of abundance and wealth, hey, what's not to like? But think about the times most of us have children accidentally killed our goldfish by overfeeding them. You know, let's give them dessert. Let's give them a treat. You know, the poor thing is like belly up after a while. More, bigger is not always better. And so we have to decide. Jupiter is impulsive. So we may see the nation of Israel acting impulsively or more or going overboard because that's very Jupiterian. And in our own life, we may see that happen. We may see, well, I'm not just going to talk to my colleague, I'm going to tell them everything that's wrong with them. You know, we start spewing all over. So we all have to kind of watch, where is moderation called for, even if our impulsive desire is not to take that route, kind of thing. So what we see on the news, what we see in our nation, what we see in our city, in our families, we also see in ourselves. As above, so below. So a lot of this intense energy is coming out. Sometimes it can be violent. And I don't know about in Canada if they are carrying this story, but in the United States, we just had a major mass shooting with dozens of people just gunned down in Maine. That's Scorpio. That's violence. That's intense. That's somebody saying, I don't like you. I have the right to take your life. You know, that is, Scorpio is extreme. They're not looking at, let's talk about this and where's the gray area. It's black or white. It's good or bad. So we have to kind of make sure we're very settled and very grounded this month, because we may get some buttons pushed for everyone, regardless. And sometimes it could be somebody getting their buttons pushed that decides to spew all over you. You know, you're at the grocery store and you've got 7 items and the 6 items or less, and the grocery store clerk starts screaming at you, and you're like, huh, what? I didn't know. You know, so we may be the ones feeling a little victimized by that, like, how dare they, you know, do that to me, which in turn gets us all defensive. So when Scorpio energies are involved, it's going to be really important that we understand ourselves, that we understand where we're coming from, that we know where our boo-boos are, that we know what triggers us. So I say it facetiously, but I mean it absolutely truthfully. It's a great month for therapy. Like, make an appointment with your therapist, talk to a counselor. It's even a hypnotherapist. It's a good time to look within.
Yeah.
But Scorpio is also the sign that rules life and death. And so, yes, here in the United States, we had a life and death situation with this shooting. But last week, I gave a talk at a spiritual center here in Charlotte. And the topic was life and death, or life after death. What happens when we die? Now, I would not have thought that's a particularly fun-loving subject, but there was a huge attendance for that. And I'm like, this many people are looking at what happens when we die. So we may find ourselves having a lot of conversations about passed on relatives or end of life decisions, or, you know, cremation versus burial, or not depressing subjects, but maybe serious subjects, you know, hospice, and, you know, what kind of service do we want? And, you know, out of the blue, a spouse, a parent may start talking about their will or their estate, and they're like, are you okay? And then, yeah, I just want to settle things. Those deep kind of issues start to come up. I don't know if you've seen your clients suddenly want to talk to those on the other side or have more contact.
I have seen more of that, and it's interesting because, like I said, in I think it was the beginning of September where I said I can feel death coming in, like and I think it was September, the month of September, where I saw, and I kept hearing death after death after death, and even my scroll on my feed on Facebook and stuff, it was all memorial, and I just thought, isn't that interesting how the gates you can feel them open, and it's almost like you can feel people ascend. And when that starts to happen, grief is such a massive catalyst in our life because it teaches us to look up and look in. Because every single one of us, none of us make it out of this place alive, none of us. So at some point we have to start looking at what happens to us on the other side, and I know, um, in my career as a remote viewer and a psychic medium, I have seen so much, Susan, that there is just no way anyone could convince me that once we're dead, we're dead. Like I've literally experienced coming out of my body and I was trained on how to do that. And that's the thing. There's literal science to this stuff now. And I just wish that people would go down, that rabbit hole of, if this is real, what else is real? You know what I mean? And it's a privilege to be that person to show others, that there is life after death and that our loved ones are around us, all the time. And they're literally just a thought away. We just don't realize that because in spirit, it's telepathy, it's instant communication. When I ask a question, I get an instant response, right? People just have to learn to recalibrate their energy to that field of holiness, or that field of infinite love. And the higher up you go, the more you hear, you know what I mean? The more you can see.
Yeah.
So it is really about vibration. And I think that the more we take accountability for where we're at in our life and start looking at, how did I create this? Where am I going? Re-examine. Actually, that's one of the words that I even have written down: re-examinations of life and death and the progression of where you're at before you go. That's one of the things that I have written down on my page, because it's true. I've noticed a lot of people re-examining their life. And I think that is going to be one of the themes of November. It's Remembrance Day on the 11th up here in Canada. You guys have the same Remembrance Day as us, don't you? November
Is that
11th?
like a memorializing the dead or
Yeah,
those who have
yes.
passed on?
For
Okay.
for military and people who lost their lives.
Yes, that's our Memorial Day. Yes, we have
Okay.
the same thing, just a different time of the year.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. When is your Memorial Day?
It is in May.
Oh, it's in May. Oh, okay.
Don't
See,
ask me why they picked May, but May is our
oh,
day. We have the same thing, just at a different time of the year.
gotcha. Okay.
November would be a good time to have that because November is when that veil is very thin. It is when the scorpionic energies of life and death come forward. And we may find ourselves thinking about relatives who have passed on or missing a loved one more. I'm not the medium you are, Patricia. You're
Well, I do
professional.
see,
I'm a professional astrologer.
yeah, well, I do see a lot more people wanting mediumship and channeled messages from the other side. So you're right. A lot more people are reaching for those messages right now. And that's good because, if I just wish that people knew that they could get their own messages. That's, I think, one of the biggest thing, because people look at spiritual teachers and think, oh, they have all the answers. They know everything. They know more than I do. No, I've just figured out a way to attune my vibration to that channel where I can hear the messages. Every single person can do it. It's just like learning math or learning science or learning how to, play the piano. It's an art. And the more you practice it, the more you learn it, the better you'll become at it, and the more you're attuned to the vibration of what it is that you're learning, right? That's what I think. And I
Right.
think that now is a great time for people to examine their spirituality. I really do, especially with what's going on in the world. It's kind of
I
crazy.
absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Now, when I do a reading for somebody and I sit down and I say a prayer and I call in their guides and angels, I call them my guides and angels.
Yeah, me too.
And you sort of like you open that door, you create that space. And when that happens, I never know what's going to happen because I don't try to control the reading. You get the best readings when you're just the messenger. And so sometimes a guide will come in, sometimes an angel will pop up, and sometimes a passed on relative will come in. And it's very frustrating for me because I'm not a professional at that. And I'll be like, okay, somebody is here, and I can kind of tell it's a man or a woman, and it looks like this. But I'm really sort of seeking, like, I want the evidence. I want the, oh, tell her about the tea set I gave her when she was 3 years old. And I'm getting things like, tell her I'm sorry that I didn't tell her I loved her. I'm like, yeah, that's nice. I want something specific.
Yeah.
So I'm really seeking to improve my skills in that area so that I can do a better job for my clients. And I think a lot of people are starting to look at this and starting to, instead of maybe judging it or being afraid of it, I think they're starting to open those doors and explore it and to see what's going on. I'm going to say, be aware. We have a new moon in the month of November. Well, we have a new moon every month, but in the month of November, we have a new moon on November 13th. And that new moon is going to be in Scorpio. So around the 13th, the sun is going to be in Scorpio and the moon is going to be in Scorpio. When you have the sun and the moon in the same sign, the sun is symbolic of our outer self. The moon is symbolic of our emotional inner self. And when they're in the same sign, they're together. So for about 3 days before the 13th, and I say for about 2 days afterwards, that's about a short week, maybe a week, um, we're going to be sort of imbued with a lot of scorpionic vibes, a lot of scorpionic energies. And one of the things that I really like about Scorpio is its ability to transform. If you are not happy with your life, if you want to make some changes in your life, that is a beautiful time to make them. From maybe like November 10th to maybe November 15th, something like that. That is a transformative period in that month and a powerful one. So that's where you can create your plan, call on your consciousness. That is a time that is very intense. And it doesn't matter what we're feeling, high, low, we're feeling it intensely. So our highs are a bit higher, we can be giddy, but our lows are a bit lower and we go, oh, life sucks. We go through those periods. So be prepared, be prepared. We're all going to be a little bit more emotional about everything. It could be crying at a sad movie or tearing up at the puppy commercial or whatever it is. We may just all be a bit more emotional, but those emotions can be cathartic. We can heal things. We can find peace. We just sometimes have to go through that uncomfortable rainstorm of emotion to come out the other side.
It's
So with all of this,
Oh, so I
go
was
ahead.
going to say about the tears is that one of the things that Spirit showed me is that there are certain traumas that can only be transmuted within the body and let go through tears. And it's interesting because one of my girlfriends was crying, and her boyfriend said to her, "Don't cry, don't cry." And I just, I didn't know how to react to that because it's like, but some things have to come out through tears, and that is literally the only way to transmute the energy. So for people who do have that mentality of don't cry, never do that to someone. Don't block that transmutation from happening, because yeah, we have to release it, and water sometimes is the best way to let it flow, right? So sorry,
When
didn't
we
mean
are
to interrupt.
crying, no, I agree with you. When we are crying, if we're crying in front of somebody, that person often feels helpless.
Yes. Yeah.
They can't fix it. They can't make it better. So they say, stop doing that
Mm.
because it doesn't feel good to be in a helpless situation. Here, this person is in great pain and I've got nothing. So if you can just sort of handle being uncomfortable with that and let them cry it out, they can heal and come out the other side.
We need to create space.
It's like that with grief.
Yeah, we got to create space for people to feel comfortable, to transmute the pain that they're carrying. Because if there's one thing that is happening right now, is people's traumas that they've held in for the last 3 years or longer are coming to the surface. And I think that that's what we're seeing with the bubbling up of the energies out there, where people are just, they're mean, they're rude, they're walking around with a chip on their shoulder. Half of them look great. I gotta mention, there's something going on with people's auric fields. I don't know if it's all the heaviness that they're carrying or if the people are just having an issue with transmuting pain, but I'm seeing a lot of illness on people in their auric fields. And so I don't know. I really think that people need to take some time for themselves and pull back in and start eating healthy, start, thinking healthy, living healthy, getting out of relationships or, situations that aren't serving because it's dragging them down. I'm seeing a lot of gray auric fields out there, and it's sad because we need to be bright and shiny and colorful. That is our natural state of being. So people are
I
carrying
don't mean this to sound sexist, but it might, that women are especially bad about self-care
yes.
because they're used to putting themselves last and taking care of their family and taking care of everybody else. I'm not saying men don't do that, but women especially may struggle with that. And I will say last month in October, I took a week off for the first time since before COVID, maybe in the last 5 years. And I went with some friends on a week-long vacation to Florida, and we went to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. And for 1 week, I forgot about my work. I didn't care where the moon was, didn't know what was going on in the stars, didn't think about what the sun was doing,
Yeah.
didn't read for anybody. I'm just going on rides and, enjoying myself. And I bought a wand and I'm swishing and flicking and I'm doing the whole thing. And I came back, I felt 10 years younger. Like for 1 week, I was a kid. I mean, there's nothing like an amusement park to make you feel like a kid.
Mm.
And we forget, and I'm bad about this, we forget to do that for ourselves. It's like, oh no, I've got responsibilities and I can't just stop and play. Yes. Even if it's not a week off in Florida, something that says I'm taking this day for myself. I'm taking a mental health day. I'm going to get a massage. I'm going to walk in the park. I'm going to, play. I'm going to be silly. I'm going to go to the movies and feel like I'm playing hooky. you know, a little bit of that is very healing and something we sometimes have to remind ourselves of.
Mhm.
Yeah. I'm also going to say every month we have a new moon and every month we have a full moon. And at the end of the month, on November 27th, we have a full moon in Gemini. And Gemini is going to be opposite the sun in Sagittarius. The first 3 weeks of November, the sun is going to be in Scorpio. And then on the 23rd of November, it changes and it moves into Sagittarius. And the energies between Scorpio and Sag are like night and day, almost literally. Scorpio is intense, it's private, it's deep, all of these mysterious, hypnotic things. And then it moves out of, the tunnel into the light. And Sagittarius is a fire sign. It's light and bright and fun and let's party. And the energy is more outward, where Scorpio energy is more inward. So yes, you're absolutely picking up on that shift. Even though the sun moves into this new sign on the 23rd, I have found that sensitive people start to pick up that energy earlier. They start to feel it sooner. So you're feeling it like half and half because and you can feel the shift when that sun moves out of the heaviness of Scorpio into the brightness of Sag. That's like day and night, black and white. You can feel the difference.
Mm.
So by mid-month to late month, our energies start to pick up. They start to perk up. Now, I don't know what this is like in Canada where you are, but in the United States, by the end of November, we are deep into Christmas season. It is
Yes.
bye, 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 and Christmas movies and jingles. Oh my God.
We already have
Every
the
year I say,
Christmas
I'm
tree.
not going to let it get to me.
I was at Heritage Park last night. They already have Christmas trees up. It's insane. So yeah, but here
It's
generally the
insane.
rule is November 11th. No one, we Canadians find it very disrespectful for people to put up their Christmas trees before November 11th. So, but yeah, as soon as November 11th hits, it's funny because we get snow usually by the end of October, so people are really feeling the festive season by the middle of November. We're wanting to put up our tree. So yeah, that's
As
Canada.
we come out of this sort of, heaviness of Scorpio, we're ready for that Sagittarius energy. We're ready to go. We're ready to travel. We're ready to party. Sag loves a nice party. It's like, let's get some friends together. Let's have a barbecue. Let's celebrate a birthday. So we are ready to be around people. Where Scorpio's more private, we tend to pull into ourselves. We want to think about it and ponder it by ourselves. But Sagittarius is very social. So that energy is going to shift dramatically. So we move into holiday season, we move into party season, and understand that Sagittarius can be very impulsive. Now, sometimes that's one of the joys of that sign is their impulsiveness. So as we move into this more impulsive sign, be careful of your pocketbook because there can be a lot of impulsive spending.
Mhm.
Oh, this is on sale. Let me get this. Oh, I've had a crappy year. I deserve a little something. There goes the credit card. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm just saying you be in charge of this instead of letting the energies be in charge of you. Because otherwise that credit card bill can come and you're like, what did I buy? How could it be this much money? You just weren't thinking about it.
Yeah.
But impulsive can be fun. So I like that we're moving towards, by the end of November, a lighter energy, a
Mm.
bubbly energy, a happier energy. But we're still going to go through the depths of Scorpio in the first part of November. I'm also going to say, oh, what is that day? I think it's like right at the beginning of November, maybe like November 4th. We have Mercury, which is a planet of communication. It is going to be in Scorpio, and it is in a stressful aspect with Uranus. Uranus is a planet of sudden, unexpected events. Let's do this. Let's try that. Oh, we've never done this before. Uranus loves to upset the apple cart. It loves to just go in a completely new direction. Let's see if we can fly the car instead of drive the car. That's Uranus. But when you combine these two and they're kind of fighting each other, think about communication, fighting with unexpectedness. There can be words that come flying out of your mouth that
Mhm.
you're like, ooh, I didn't mean to say that out loud. Or, oh, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said that to my boss. You're going to need to watch your language a little more. Stop and think about it, because you get this impulsiveness, this suddenness, and accidentally it can be hurtful. Somebody says some things like, well, if you weren't 100 pounds overweight, you wouldn't have that problem.
Yeah.
And we didn't even realize we were going to say that it was going to come out of our mouths. And then, of course, we don't mean to hurt anybody and we're backtracking, trying to fix it. But it's easier to not say it. So be careful about these sudden, unexpected communications. Remember, Mercury also rules vehicles and short trips, rules cars, buses, rules motorcycles, rules train system, mass transit. And with that Uranus erupting, sudden unexpected things, there could be interruptions in mass transit. There could be little fender benders kind of thing.
Mhm.
The last time that Uranus and Mercury were fighting in my chart, I was backing out of a space, and of course, I was looking behind me, and I put my foot gently on the gas, and I went right into the brick wall that was in front of me. Unfortunately, I was going like 2 miles an hour. And all I could do was like hang my head, like, Susan, what is wrong with you? But that's the kind of thing that I mean, just dumb stuff, dumb stuff. It doesn't have to be something horrible, little fender benders and boo boos, and we're not paying attention in the kitchen and we cut ourselves, or we drop a book on our big toe and it's bruised up. Silly things, but things that are avoidable because we're not paying attention. When we get these energies together, we tend to rush and we're impatient. And right now, so many of us wake up in the morning and we have our to-do list in our head. I have to do this and drop the kids off, and then I'm going to go. It just seems like it's never ending. And so, right around the third, the fourth, the fifth, take a deep breath, slow down a little bit, just cross off the top three off your list, give yourself a break. Because when we try to rush and we try to do too much, we're trying to multitask, it can backfire on us.
Mhm.
So this is where we, instead of being pushed to do more, do faster, get it done, just, what, if I do this tomorrow, it's going to be okay. It's going to
Mhm.
be just fine.
Well, and with the
That
self-care
intensity of
thing,
Scorpio can push us.
oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There's a little bit of a
No,
lag.
that's okay.
There's a little bit of a lag with the recording just because of the Wi-Fi. So I totally don't mean to cut you off. It shows kind of a pause on my end. So I'm
That's
like, okay,
fine.
jump in and say this because one of the things that I've noticed is, especially this week, there's a lot of people showing up sick. And I think that immune systems are really hanging by a thread right now because of the amount of stress and anxiety or whatever people have been carrying. So I just wanted to mention, I do know that it is cough, cold, and flu season, but It's crazy how many people are walking around sick. So take care of yourself. Vitamin D, vitamin C, it's proper sleep, proper eating, build yourself naturally up. You don't need to take a flu shot in order to stay healthy. The one time that I got the flu shot, it landed me in the hospital with pneumonia. So I'd never do that again. Yeah, they made you when you're nursing, they force you to. So
Yeah,
the first
they
time I
do.
got it, landed me in the hospital. So I never had to get it again. But still, like, I don't know why they're not promoting health, in our healthcare system. But anyways, that's the other thing I wanted to say was I think that the chaos and the energy is finally getting to people's bodies. So it's very, very important that you build up your line of defense, which is your immune system.
I agree 100%. I take dandelion
Mm.
um, to help my immune system. And I notice a difference when I'm taking it, when I'm not taking it. I have more energy. I feel better. It's a liquid, and to be honest, it tastes kind of disgusting. So I take a dropperful and I put it in an empty gel cap, and that's how I swallow it
Oh,
because
smart.
I do not like the taste of it at all.
Yeah.
But I love what it does for my body, and I love how strong it makes me feel and how much more energy it gives me.
Mm.
So I take that, and yes, I'm like you, I'm taking extra minerals, I'm taking extra vitamins, I'm making sure that I'm doing what I know to do to take care of me. Now, Scorpio does have a strong healing energy and a healing vibe, but it can be intense healing. Like a lot of surgeons have Scorpio energy, and a lot of paramedics, they like that intensity kind of thing. EMS people and firefighters and policemen, they've got that Scorpio vibe. But we just kind of want to stay healthy and not be sniffling and sneezing all over the place. So we don't need to go that deep in. We just need to make sure, as you said, we're drinking a lot of water, walking, getting some sunshine, enjoying the day, taking a few moments to do that,
Mhm.
because I agree it makes the world of difference. And you don't want to spend these next 3 weeks being worried or pushing things down. When we walk, or I have a treadmill, because, I live in a place where it's either too hot or too cold. And there's like 3 days a year where the weather's just right for walking. So I have a treadmill, and I notice that when I walk in the morning, I just have more energy the whole day.
Mhm.
Yeah. So think about this. We have several planets changing directions this month, changing signs this month. Saturn, which has been retrograde for months, and when it's retrograde, it appears to be going backwards. The planet's not really going backwards. From the point of view of the Earth, it looks like Saturn's going backwards. But on November 4th, finally, Saturn changes direction and starts to move forward again. This is exciting news because Saturn is a planet that rules our career. So for those of you who have maybe wanting to make some changes in your career, but hasn't been the right time, or your promotion's on hold, or that raise you promised hasn't quite come through, that energy has been struggling to move. And so things may have felt stuck. But now Saturn's like, okay, let's get busy. What do we need to be doing? So we may find ourselves getting excited about starting a new business, or maybe we're creating a side hustle. And what do we need to do about this? And let's start some marketing. Let's create a website. Let's get going. So there's going to be a new busyness in the air. If you're self-employed, you may see more clients, more customers. You may be thinking about, what do I need to do to move forward? What do I need to do to make sure 2024 is a profitable year? Because Saturn likes to think ahead, and Saturn's very responsible. None of this light and fluffy stuff. Saturn says, okay, what's the plan? What is this going to cost? Where am I going to get the money? So it's a good time to merge our spiritual desires or truth with practical realities. You and I do that every day because we both have woo-woo professions.
Yes.
But because it's our profession, we have to make decisions like, what do I charge? Where do I find my clients? Am I going to do a class or a workshop? And what am I going to call it? What am I going to charge? All professional decisions. And so we're going to see a lot of people asking about their profession, wanting to look at their career and wanting to look at making changes in their career, because Saturn is moving again and everybody's going to start loving it and getting busy with it.
Nice.
So And fortunately, by the end of the month, not only is the sun out of Scorpio, but so is Mars. Mars is going to move out of Scorpio, and Mars is going to enter Sagittarius as well. And Mercury is going to move into Sagittarius. So this is why sometimes you'll hear somebody say, oh, it's Sagittarius season or it's Libra season. Different planets move at different rates, but sometimes planets will move close together, not exactly at the same rate, but pretty close together. Let's say they're moving 5 or 10 miles difference. So they may be a little ahead or a little behind, but close together. And so sometimes you'll get like a grouping of planets, like 2 or 3 planets together. And when you get those planets together, you get a really big serving of that energy. And that's why astrologers call it like that season. We're in Scorpio season.
Okay.
By the beginning of December, we'll be in Sagittarius season. But it's a transitional month because by the end of the month, we have let go of some of the intensity.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how to say this. I like to know what's going on in the world. I absolutely think we need to be informed. But sometimes I just turn off the television. I just need some peace and quiet because the television is not advertising peace on earth, goodwill towards men 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
Even if everything is fine in your neighborhood, they'll reach into another neighborhood. Oh, there was a fire in this other neighborhood.
Exactly.
You know, it's
Drama
like,
sells.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we just need to carve out a little peaceful bubble for ourselves for a little bit. So if you need to do that, do what you need to do to not be inundated with pain or suffering or difficulty. Because sometimes when I'm in prayer and I'm praying for these people who've lost relatives in Maine in the shooting, and I'm praying for Ukraine, and I'm praying for what's going on in Israel, and I can feel a little overwhelmed, like my little prayers in a whole world that's gone crazy. And I think a lot of us struggle with that. Do my prayers make a difference? You feel overwhelmed with everything.
Yeah.
Take a breath.
Yeah, I agree. And yes, just to answer that, yes, your prayers make a difference. We are all individuated pieces of the whole. And when we sing in congruence and we find that unified field of prayer, especially when, it even says in the Bible, when 2 or more are gathered in my name, that's where I am found. Jesus is talking about his presence, his vibration, his current, right? We tune into it when we come together in prayer and call upon that holy name. And so it's interesting that you talk about carving some time for peace, because at the beginning of the month, when it was like fire after just fire and it's like, whoa, being pulled in a million different directions, I looked up and said, Lord, what should I do? Should I be standing in my power and, taking this on? And I heard clear as a bell, find the easiest path to peace. Find your peace. Find peace. And so
Fine.
that's what I did. So even fights that I wanted to go toe to toe with, because I knew it'd be better to stand in my power and speak up. I found a gentle way to just, not my monkey, not my circus, not my monkeys. And that little bit of advice that I gave at the beginning of October, I ended up taking it myself. Stay in your own lane. Stay in your own lane. I don't know if you remember me saying that, but it's funny because I had a couple clients say to me, Patricia, that was the greatest thing. Thank you for saying that. I remembered your words all month when I just wanted to lose my mind on people. Stay in your own lane. Stay in your own lane. Because just like what you said, there's so many ticking time bombs around us that we don't know which one is going to go boom if you do. So it's just like I was speaking with one of my police friends, and they said that the amount of shootings in with road rage shootings, there was a whole pile of them in 1 week, just a couple weeks ago here. And that's mind blowing, because it's not like people are driving around going, oh yeah, I'm going to kill someone today. You know what I mean? Well, maybe they are. I don't know what goes through someone's mind like that. But all I know is, if that's what's inside of them, that they can actually snap at a red light and pull a trigger on someone, that is some sort of evil that we're dealing with being out there in the world that people are carrying, that people are absorbing and sitting with. So if we don't learn to decompress and get rid of the mud from yesterday, of course, we're going to feel 10 times heavier tomorrow. So it's very important to find that path to peace, to be able to deconstruct every single day. So like you said, if it is that 5-10 minute walk or listening to peaceful music, I often talk about what I listen to. And I think that's important that people know, there are there's energy embedded in music. There really is. And that's why we can listen to a song and it'll make us stand up on our feet and get up and feel, like dancing. And there's others that can bring us to our knees and make us cry. Why? Because there's frequencies, there's messages, there's all of that that's embedded in it. So for me, when I'm feeling low, I don't need to be listening to music that's going to be bringing me lower. I want to be listening to stuff that gives me that sense of peace and fulfillment back into my body, and also releases that anger. So anyways, I'm just saying, be careful of what we're listening to, both watching on TV but also listening on the radio, because if you actually listen to the words of some of the songs that are on the radio, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe the children of our future are listening to these words, and they're getting embedded in their psyche when you keep pressing replay on a song, and you've listened to it so many times, the words. Well, that's getting embedded into you. And I don't know, I just think that it's predictive programming at its finest. So
I'm on the road a lot because I do a lot of driving between my state and another state. And there's this comedian, he's passed away now, but her name is Jeannie Robertson, and she has these CDs that are just sort of, it's not jokes, but it's sort of like commentaries on life, like laughing at the absurdities of life. And I will just pop in something of hers and I will just laugh at the silliness, because we can all recognize the human experience, and what happens, and the things we all get annoyed at and the things we all struggle with. And so, yeah, by the time I get to my destination, I'm laughing. And so whatever gives you that upliftment, do that.
yes.
This is what we need to do for mental health, just like we need to be taking care of our physical health. Yeah. November is all about getting healthy and staying healthy on every level.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with that. And it's interesting because I even wrote down on here, do not feed into emotions. Um, more truth coming to the surface. That was the other thing that I picked up. I think that there's been a lot of lies that has been hidden under the surface. We talked about that. Oh, you said that at the beginning. Scorpio season. Ugh. I'm just going through my list going, oh, that's right. You mentioned that. And I've written down lies being exposed. So, you mentioned that. The other thing
Well,
that,
I will tell you.
yeah,
Well, I was just going to say quickly that one of the key words for the sign of Sagittarius, it is a sign that rules truth.
oh,
And
interesting.
Scorpio is a sign that rules secrets.
Wow.
Interesting that you're bringing this up.
Well, and the other thing that I have
Yeah.
written down
You
too,
get it from one place and I get it from a different place.
I know, I love that. I love that because I remote view it and feel the energy and go, okay, what are the big things that I need to talk about for people? How's it going to show up globally and how's it going to show up individually? And I even wrote down endings and beginnings, closing chapters, opening new ones. It'll lead to new directions and paths. So be open to change. Change is good. So yeah, I have that written down too. And then I also wrote down control, frustrations, and responsibilities. So can't remember just in the second what I was getting at there, but I think that we are going to see. Didn't you say Scorpio? Which is the one that you said is controlling? Oh, I hope I didn't lose you. Sorry, everybody. The Wi-Fi today has not been the greatest on Susan's end. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, Scorpio. Yeah, I can hear you. I will say Saturn is a planet of responsibility. And
Okay.
remember, it turns direct on November 4th. So, yes, it rules our career, but it is about taking responsibilities. It's about being responsible. It is about doing the right thing. Not because you
Gotcha.
get something for it, but just because it's the right thing to do.
Oh, I'm really
So
losing.
Saturn rules adulthood process. Saturn also, interestingly, it rules governments and it rules big business.
Ah,
So with all this Scorpio secret stuff and Sagittarius truth stuff and this new business energy moving forward, we may see things unveiled about different businesses or governments or things that were hidden coming to light.
mhm.
I'll also say the eclipses of October are big about that because eclipses have a tendency to unveil things that were hidden before. And many of the things that are happening or just happened in October will reach their conclusion in April of next year. So don't think that it's done and over at the end of October. Fast forward 6 months, and we're going to see the results of our decisions for October.
Interesting. Very
So, sorry,
interesting.
didn't mean to butt in like that.
No, 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 no. I love hearing it because, like you said, we get it from two different sources. I remote view it and pick up what's going on in the quantum field, and you nail it through astrology. I'm fascinated by it. Because, like I said, we don't discuss anything before we hop onto these calls. But I also wrote down, be careful about investments. People, be careful what you're investing in right now. Not as all as it seems. So it doesn't feel like a very safe time for investments. Same thing with purchasing homes and stuff. It feels like that interest rate is going to continue to climb. And I think it's because as we move into 2024, now I've mentioned, people who follow me have heard me talk about 2025, and I'm sure you remember I've talked about 2025 that it doesn't feel good. It's like that World War III energy or another sit down, shut up. You're not going anywhere. You're not traveling for another 3 years. COVID situation. It's something. It's something. And, it's interesting because as we move closer into 2024, we're hearing a lot of the words of World War III. And at the beginning of 2020, I mentioned Hitler's consciousness coming back onto the planet, that it's a paradigm. Hitler, he leaked into the minds of millions of people that thought it was okay to wipe out a race, which is mind blowing to me. And I actually did a mid-month energy update because I was so blown away with everything that was happening that I had to say something. I couldn't wait until the November update. But for anyone who didn't watch that one, I did mention how on October 6th, there was a data breach of 23andMe. And cyber attackers were able to obtain everybody's information from 23andMe, absolutely. And it gave them the information of their sex, their birth, the birth year, genetic ancestry results, all of their, like if you carry the Brock gene or anything, they now know it. And it gives you your geographical ancestry information right down to where you are, address, everything that's all attached to your file is now in the hands of cyber attackers. Well, it just goes to show that when we put our lives online, nothing is safe. Nothing is safe. But yet, the other thing that I noticed was that, did you notice over COVID how many ATM machines and how many banks were closing down? In Europe, a lot of them have closed down, and it's hard to find an ATM. Why? Because they're trying to bring in a digital currency that they want to actually take effect by 2035. They want money gone by 2035. And that is very, very, very scary because it will be very quick evolution to a microchip or something that represents your whole life on the size of a head of a pin. You know what I mean? And it will have all of that information that cyber attackers just stole from 23andMe. Now, what I found fascinating was that they were after one distinctive set of profiles, and I thought this was really, really weird, was that they were after the Ashkenazi Jewish bloodline. They wanted to know everybody who was an Ashkenazi Jewish descent. And I think to myself, why? Why do they want to know? Why did Hitler try to wipe them out? We got to think. Think higher, people. Think higher. Don't think 3D. Think higher. What is in these people's bloodline that they want to wipe it out? So that their resonance is no longer on this earth. Their presence is no longer on this earth. Why? Why? There's power in our blood. I truly believe that. This is why you look at the pharaohs and the kings, they would interbreed. They'd marry their sisters or their cousins or whatnot because they didn't want to dilute the power of the resonance of their blood. And so I just think that this is a holy war. This is an ancient holy war between good and evil. This started long before Hitler came along, long before, right? This is it. Like you go back to the time of Moses and them trying to wipe out all the firstborn males because of the prophecy. I think of the stories that really stand out to me in the Bible are, like the Passover, where they were told to paint the blood of the lamb over their house so that the spirit of death and destruction wouldn't touch them. Why? Because there's resonance in the blood. I'm telling you, everything is frequency. Everything is frequency. And when people want to know about psychic stuff, start looking into frequency. Everything is a vibration. And for me, I'm just sensitive enough that I can feel even the slightest vibrational shift and I pick it up. When a person is talking to me, if all of a sudden their stomach drops, I feel it go through me if I'm standing within their auric field, right? So, or no, even if I'm just talking like this, we're hundreds of miles, thousands of miles away and I could feel it. If your stomach drops, I'd feel it because I'm connecting with you, right? So everything is resonance, including what's in our blood. And I think it's fascinating, and I'm one of the dummies that fell for it. They have my blood. I really wanted to find my ancestors.
I would never do it.
And it was worth it because I have the greatest cousins in the world that I got a chance to meet. And I just love them so much. It's crazy how much we have in common. But at the same time, these data attackers now have all my information as well. And so that is scary. So when the class action lawsuit comes out, jump on that because they got no right to be giving away our information. It should be secure. When we do something like that, it's like medical records, So anyways, it's just another one of those things where it's like, oh, there's Hitler's consciousness. Oh, I can see him. I can see you. I see you. And I swear it's like a demon that just gets into people. And that's the problem. We are not fighting with flesh. We are fighting with principalities. It's not a blood and flesh war. This is good and evil. This is a spiritual war.
Energy.
And it is. It's energy. And people need to wake up to that because this is an ancient script that is now being played out again. And the thing is that what I'm worried about is that the US and Canada, chances are Canada, I don't really feel like Canada will really get involved in World War III just because Canadians, they literally just love too much. I don't know. I don't think Canada would get involved, but, or maybe they might send peacekeeping troops or something, but I can't see us really getting involved because Canadians just sit back.
I agree with you. It's
but
funny because
the
I'm
US,
thinking of something about the US and Canada next year.
well,
but it's not about fighting. It's not about them joining in some sort of military something. It's, I give my predictions talk every January.
Yeah.
And so I'm already at a point where I'm starting to get downloads and starting to pick up things for next year. And I'm picking up some sort of pact between Canada or the US or some sort of coming together. I wonder if they signed some treaty to work on some new progressive industry or something together or make some joint decision about a border or something. It feels like Canada and the US, which are already pretty close allies, feels like something gets cemented even more like there, but it does not feel military to me.
Well, that's
I
good.
don't think I know exactly the energy you're talking about, Patricia. I don't think World War III is coming in 2025, but I think something big is
I
coming in
hope I'm wrong.
2025. And I laughingly was having lunch with my sister the other day, and I said, stock up on toilet paper. As it gets closer to
Yes,
2025, you might
yes,
want to buy some toilet paper.
because it's
She kind
something.
of looked at me.
It is. It's something really big. I can
Something.
feel, and it doesn't feel good. But the one thing that you know I'm worried about on how possibly the US can get dragged into this is uh beware of lone actors, you guys. Be vigilant, when you're on the street, if you see anything weird, report it to the police. If you have to take subways or you're out in big populated areas and you see something weird, just report it. It's better safe than sorry, because I do believe there may be some lone actors that sit there and go, I'm doing this in the name of Hamas, even though they're not even related. And then all Hamas has to do is go, oh, yeah, yep, that was us. That was us. And then boom, you guys are
Yeah.
getting sucked into something that, hopefully everyone just, I'm not saying stays out of, but there's, at this day and age, in this day and age, there needs to be peace. Like, we know better. We know better. So this is
You
where I'm
think we
thinking,
do
okay, but here's my thing. It's like, okay, we do know better. We know better. We know better, right? But here's my thing. Is it for population control? What's the point of it? Because the only people who want war are that jerks sitting on the top promoting this, and forcing it into the minds of people that are easily swayed and told what to do. So to me, it's like, what is the big agenda here? Is this a depopulation, or is it because these greedy jerks want resources in the area or don't know how to give back their land? I got to say something. When I was in Ireland and I knew nothing. I don't know anything about war and the fights. I don't want to pretend like I know anything about what's going on. I purposely don't watch the news. And then I literally just tune in and go, okay, what's going on, guys? You tell me. I don't want to hear it from people who are known to lie, like CNN, right? I want to hear it from source. What do I need to tell people this month? Um, I just I just think that if we're not careful on our level of hatred and anger towards our fellow man, it will be easy to be pulled into the paradigm against me, against you, them against, you know what I mean? The division. And it seems like the people that sit on top in the governments, that's all they want. That's all they've been spouting for the last 3 years is division, 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 division. And the thing is that it's coming at us so fast that it's making our head spin, right? And then we don't, and then it's paralysis by analysis. You don't know what to do, you know? So that's where I just think the outside narrative, the way the governments are going right now, it does feel like it's going to get worse, but there's going to be talks of peace that kind of go nowhere. That's what it feels like. Talks of peace that don't really go anywhere. But I don't feel that, you know, World War III is going to happen in 2024. I don't feel that. I feel like, okay, if there is going to be a war or something big and destructive like that, they're getting their chess pieces in order. You know what I mean? Any big war, it takes a plan, it takes planning. And it kind of feels like this is a little bit of the calm before the storm. So, and I just think that, with mass immigration, we have so many different ideologies and religions and perspectives, that this is where we have to see each other as human beings, not as Christian or Muslim or Catholic or Buddha. Well, I love Buddhism. You've never seen a Buddhist start a war ever. Yeah, I love Buddhism. But my point is, why can't we just see each other as brothers and sisters of the same family? And it's the labels and it's crap that's been shoved down our throat, the them against us and all of that, that I just see mounting. So people really need to start using spiritual discernment and using their common sense too. If something doesn't feel right, even if you're being told it by the government, if it doesn't feel right, test it within you, because they're they're known actors, they're known liars. They do it to us all the time.
One of the things that's my own personal spiritual practice is that when there's, even in my personal life, I mostly like everybody and have great friends and wonderful clients. And every once in a while, I'll meet somebody I'm like, I'm going to, not for me. And on television, there are people that, just give me a headache and all this. When somebody is bothering me, whether that is on a personal level or a national level or an international level, I immediately start to pray for them. I
Yes.
have prayed for the dictators of the world. I have prayed for people that I think in my heart are evil. And let me tell you, this is not as easy as that sounds.
Yes, I agree.
Because sometimes I'm drunk and I'm like, I can't do it. I don't want to pray for them. And I'm not praying they'll be successful. I'm praying positive things that help to turn that tide. But it may seem like a small thing, but it is helping me to remember my humanity.
Yes.
Because it is so easy for us to get caught up in, oh, they're the reason I'm not happy. They're what's wrong with the world. And if we do that, we're going down a very slippery road.
I agree.
And so when there's somebody that is, I don't like, or somebody that look how evil they are, I start to pray for them. And it's something I do to remember love in my heart, to remember spirituality in my heart, to stay centered.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Not always easy.
I read a little meme that says, when someone makes you upset, pray for them. It may not change them, but it will change you. And it does.
Well
It
said.
softens your heart. It really does. And I agree. I think that we just need to remember that we are all connected, and flow that love out of us, flow the power of prayer out of us. It's needed now more so than ever. But I also think that that's why there's so many people examining their spirituality at this point too, waking up to their divinity, realizing you got power in your blood too. We do. We've got power in
Came
our
in to be
blood.
a light worker because
Gift
the
in our
world needs
blood.
the light.
Yes, exactly. So it's just, yeah, it's just activating those gifts of the fathers that have been passed down to us, and realizing that we had it all along. So, yeah. Wow. Well,
Whoa,
what else can we add to this for November?
whoa, interesting month. And we have kind
Yeah,
of once again gone into a lot of different areas. It just, you would think we plan this, but it doesn't. It just kind of goes wherever it's going to go. And it's always interesting. It just never goes where I think it's going to go. It's often something else.
yeah. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I think that it goes to show that there really is an energy out there, that you can tune into and that you can get answers from. It's just a matter of quieting ourselves and listening and feeling into it. So, wow. Anything else you wanted to add? Any last
No,
minute?
it's going to be an
We're good.
interesting
We're
month.
covered.
Hang on.
Okay.
Stay centered. Don't let yourself get swayed by negative people or the news or anything else. And I think by mid-month, towards 2/3 of the way in, you're going to start to feel the energy lighten. So don't think that what you're feeling now is it forever or for months and months ahead. It's going to change in the next few weeks. Just hang on.
And I'm just looking at my list and boom, we covered it. We're good. This is awesome. So just you guys remember the middle of the month, it's going to get a lot more smoother. You can take a breath. I can actually already start to feel it kind of shifting. It does feel like it's getting a little bit lighter next week even. But yeah, by about the middle of the month, that's where you can take a breath. So hang in there, you guys. And if you'd love to have a one-on-one appointment with Susan, your website is?
ExploreAstrology.com.
And if you
I
like,
start to get real busy around December, January because people want to know what's coming up for the new year. And I'm already starting to get downloads and information about what's going on economically in the world, politically, personally, all the new energies. 2024 has got a whole new energy coming.
yes, I definitely agree with you. I think it's also because we're getting ready to close chapters. I keep seeing a lot of that in quite a few people's lives that I've been reading for. It's like, oh, you're closing chapters this year, and a few people it's like, oh, well, you still got another 2 years in yours. But anyways, I see a lot of people closing chapters. So I agree with you. 2024 is brand new energy. So we'll keep doing this because I love doing this with you, and I get great feedback. On our monthly visits and chats every month. So thank you so much, Susan.
My
Um,
pleasure.
and if you'd like to,
And
sorry?
sorry, on my website, exploreastrology.com,
Yeah.
I put out free predictions for every sign every month. So I'm working on November right now. So next week, November's predictions will be out. You don't have to pay anything, buy anything, join anything. It's just my way of giving back to community. So if you want to know what's going on with your sign for November, check it out.
Love it. Love it. And if you'd like to book a reading or an appointment with me, my website is www.patriciamona.com. And I also teach psychic development and meditation classes. So I just thought I'd mention that. So thank you, Susan, for another wonderful monthly update. And thank you, everybody, for watching. If you haven't liked and subscribed to my channel, I encourage you to do so. God bless, and we will see you in December.
Next month.
Beginning of December. Wow. We'll have Christmas
End of
trees
the
up
year.
there. Yeah, exactly. Okay. God bless,
Bye.
my friend. Take care, everybody.